I allowed myself to believe that was all that was all I ever had. That was all I was ever destined to become. And I think in that moment, I realized that I am much more than just what everybody else said I was going to be.
Slam dunk, are you ready to make me?
In my personal view, I always say like you're wearing a mask. So you've got like your mask for public life, and then you take that off, and that's what's going on inside. But things don't need to be shared everywhere. But like, what would you say is advice for people going with who are listening now, struggling with like anxiety of some side, like how they would best to channel that, how to best work around?
I think first, one of the things that really helped me was actually giving it a name, like actually giving it a label, an image. And so often it was such an obscure thing that I couldn't really describe it or explain it to anyone. And so I kind of look back at my kind of 8-9-year-old me who suffered with anxiety and ask myself now, so how would you want to, like, as a kid, how would you have described your anxiety? And often giving it a face or giving it a name, usually that really helped me to come to terms with what I was dealing with, because it became tangible. Since then, always called it my monster. And there are moments where that monster is so big that it's like in my face and it won't let me get out of bed and it won't let me function. And there are moments where that monster is kind of manageable, where it's kind of behind me and kind of taps me on my shoulder occasionally and just lets me know it's there, but I'm managing, but I'm getting through my day. And there are times when my monster is so teeny tiny, it just sits in my pocket and I can just walk around, go about my day, and it hasn't affected me in the slightest. But I know it's there. By doing that really helped me to really understand it. And it really helped me to explain to my children, because one of the things that I found that as somebody who suffers with mental health issues, it's a lot of hiding. It's that mask. You kind of, you hide it. And much like being in the public eye, there's this kind of image of you on television, glossy and shiny and colorful. And there's the other image where, you can't get out of bed because you're struggling because you're struggling with your anxiety. So it's that mask. It's like you constantly have this kind of mask on. And I think what I found was that I was the best liar I lied to my children all the time. I created this, I didn't allow myself to be vulnerable to my children. The kids had this image of this woman who could do everything. She didn't ask for help. She did everything. She just got on with it, and everything was always done. And I was there with a smile on my face, waiting for them to go to bed so I could fall apart. And actually the most liberating thing for me was being honest to my children. And so I don't lie anymore. Like when I'm having a bad day, I say I'm just not having a very good day today. I'm struggling today. And they understand anxiety the way I explain it, which is with a monster. So like now sometimes they say, I feel like, sometimes my son will say, like, I feel like the monster's really taking over today. So, or he'll say, the monster's happily just sat in my pocket. It's absolutely fine. So giving it something tangible has really allowed me to kind of do my job, because obviously doing such a public facing job means that the issues that I face are very different to the ones that I faced 5 years ago as a stay-at-home mum. So the way I handle it is exactly the same. So so the problems don't feel bigger anymore. So the problems don't feel bigger or greater or less manageable. They're just the same problems that I had, but different. And so I find that being honest, not only to my children, but just being honest in the public, when I'm talking publicly about my mental health, just there's such a shame attached to mental health illness that, like, by talking about it, it takes away the shame. And I think it's an age thing as well. I think it's certain generations, not necessarily always communities. I think certain generations don't necessarily understand mental health. So I'm trying to kind of dispel some of the myths and talk about them within my community as well as with young children. And that really helps me. So for anyone who is struggling or is suffering, I think find somebody to talk to. I think that's really important. Find somebody to talk to who will understand. And often I find it really helpful to talk to somebody who doesn't understand, because you really get to kind of talk about it in a way. And it's really weird. It's really therapeutic to talk to somebody who doesn't get mental health or doesn't understand it, because you almost come to a conclusion and understanding yourself by talking to them.
Slam dunk,